All right, welcome everybody to the January Florida Tug meeting. As we said, when you came in, there's a couple of different ways here for you to connect with us. Feel free to put anything you want in the chat, see if we can connect with you there. Let's see, so leadership team, it's myself, Aaron, I got Yamil here as well. Erica Clemens, Jeff Baker, Katie, I think I saw her, she's logged in, she's here, and Andrew Kim. A little bit about us. We've been holding these monthly meetings virtually for the most part for the last over 2 years. And we expanded to we used to be just the Orlando group, and now we're the Florida group because there weren't a lot of participation in the other cities. So we've invited them to come in until they kind of get up and running. So I think Tampa is back up as well. We're here to network, giving back to you guys, share any job opportunities. If you are part of the Orlando Tableau user group on LinkedIn, you can share job posts there and look at anybody that's connected there. We're going to give some swag away at the end. Tableau gives us a little bit of money to treat you guys, to incentivize you guys to come, and all the stuff I've gotten from them has been great. So you have to stay to the end in order to be eligible. So if you get out of here early, you're going to miss out. Today we got Katrina Johnson from Katrina, how do you pronounce your company's name?
Yeah, PH Data.
PH Data, okay. I always say Phi Data or Pi Data, and I never know how to say it.
No worries, we get all pronunciations.
Okay. Next month we have Dawn Harrington from JP Morgan Chase. She's going to do tips, tricks, do's and don'ts, and a build with me session. So there's probably some material that you're going to need prior to next month's tug, so we'll make sure to communicate that out and send that out so you're ready to go. In March, Brandy Beals is going to talk about the Tableau catalog, and I've got these little ambassador icons here for all these people because the rest of our year is Tableau ambassadors. So you can take a look at that, take a screenshot. We've got a lot of people, a lot of big names. September, we got Tableau Tim coming in from the Information Lab. Love him. Kevin Wee's coming back in October. He's been on before, and don't miss out in December because all the tug leaders, whoever can participate, we're going to kind of go over how the years went, the big things that happened, big things coming up. It'll be the TC for the next year. So we're just going to kind of go over a couple of things and present a couple of fun dashboards as well. So today's speaker is Katrina. Passionate about the data community. She joined the Tableau community early on, which was great. I did not do that. Got in kind of late. She's come into a tug leadership role herself. Loves sharing her knowledge and seeing that light bulb moment for her users. Currently a senior consultant at PH Data, based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So all of us down here in Florida, we wish you warm weather. And brown belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Dangerous. Okay, Katrina, I'll stop sharing and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to pull up my presentation. While I do that, I just wanted to call out that if you guys are new to tugs or anything, or new to Tableau in general, that lineup that you just saw is amazing. It's super exciting to see so many cool names and so many good presentations. So definitely try and attend any that you can. But today I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about pivot tables in Tableau. I come from a heavy Excel background, so I'm very much so used to using pivot tables. And when I first started using Tableau, it was something that I was like, oh, this is something I'm familiar with and I want to be able to do. And it took me a little bit of time to kind of figure out how to actually build different options for pivot tables. Today, I'm going to be going through a little bit of some different options. There's a wide variety of options as far as like complexity and difficulty in building them. So I'm going to walk through some options for you. So hopefully, if you're brand new to Tableau or have been using it for 10 years or something, that you'll be able to find some interesting content today. And then I'll also go through in some of the resources that I listed. I did share those in the chat, and I'll also talk about those again. And then we'll do a kind of like a little bit of a walkthrough of my build. Not planning on doing a live build today just for sake of time, but I will kind of walk through everything and explain what is going on. So you can sort of follow along if you'd like, but I can also share and list the resources. And I also wanted to make sure to leave plenty of time for questions and answers. If you have something that you're unsure about, please feel free to ask it. These sessions are for you, and I want to make it as meaningful as possible. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat, but if you don't, or Aaron or Ball, if you guys want to call out questions, and then awesome. Okay, so let me just get started with a little bit more of the agenda today. So the first topic is going to be why you should use pivot tables. Why is this a thing? Why is this the theme of my presentation? And why is it something that you should try and implement in your day-to-day jobs or those sorts of things? And then, like I said, we'll go through some options for those drill downs, some options for different pivot table-esque things in Tableau. And then I'll also list those resources, and then we'll kind of hop into, gonna go like a little bit of a funky order on this, but we'll hop into Tableau and kind of look at some options. So first one, why should you use pivot tables? I've got 3/4 points right here, and I really love pivot tables because they provide additional insight and clarity. If you think about what the data visualization objective is and how beneficial identifying trends can be, bar charts, line charts, all of these really cool visuals that we love building and that are fun to build and pretty to build, they're really great at identifying trends. But what do you do after you identify that trend? How do you know, let's say you've got one bar chart for your East Coast that is like 3 times the size as your West Coast one. What's the next natural step for you? It's going to be diving into that East Coast and saying, what are they doing right? Or maybe what is West Coast doing wrong? And how can we help our business grow in these certain areas? Or maybe it's just something with a data ingestion issue. Maybe West Coast is doing great, but we just don't know that. And those are the kinds of things that pivot tables can, and just tables in general, can really help you determine and figure out. So they are able to, when you combine it with a visualization, especially, they can provide that additional insight and clarity. The second step is it's going to help improve user adoption. Part of why I wrote this content or wrote this blog originally was because I had a project where the business user just kept asking, just show me the numbers, just show me the numbers. I just want to see the numbers. And so this was a way for me to provide that, this person lived and breathed Excel. And this was a way for me to provide that familiarity and kind of comfort to say, like, yes, see, we can still provide that same content, that same piece of information that you're used to and that you need for your day-to-day job, but then also give you some pretty visuals along the way. And then third is it's hopefully going to be less work for yourself. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I like to work smarter, not harder most of the time. So when we think about pivot tables and the value that they bring, the dynamic drill down, the possibilities of being able to slice and dice your data in different ways, that's something that if you can kind of help set up correctly, you'll be able to provide the opportunity for your end users to be able to answer the questions themselves, which hopefully means less work for you. They're not pinging you or emailing you and saying, hey, can I see this number, but for, January instead? Or what happens if we took January's number and put in region instead, or all those sorts of things. So kind of letting that end user explore. And also maybe it might kind of produce some additional questions or some better questions as far as, what is more interesting or what would be more impactful for us to look at our data by. And then the last point down here is going to be just, I think that this, especially this third or this last option that I'm going to talk through today, is a really good way to practice multi-select parameters. And if you're new to Tableau, a parameter is basically something that lets you kind of like hold a value and you can flip through or rotate through or kind of shuffle through different values. And a multi-select parameter lets you say, I might want to look at east. A lot of times parameters are kind of only, let's look at east, let's look at west, then let's look at south. Multi-select parameters lets you choose all of those options above. And I would say that for me personally, I think that multi-select parameters are kind of on that short list of the things that have, specifically for my career and my understanding of Tableau, have really taken it to the next level. It's a really cool feature that you can kind of like combine with other cool hacks and cool things in Tableau. So with that, hopefully those are some meaningful reasons for you to understand why we're going to be talking about pivot tables and just tables in general. I think a lot of these things apply to tables in general. So next, I'm going to talk about some options for pivot tables in Tableau. And like I said before, I'm going to talk through 3 different options, and these options each have different pluses and minuses to them. You've got some built-in hierarchy options that are going to be really good, kind of as they're built in, so they're easier to do. It's a very entry level, and it can be a really good way to prototype, where you can say, hey, let me send this to my end user, make sure it's the right the right drill down hierarchy, exactly what they want, before I go through this whole process of building it on the back end. And it can be good prototyping. It can be a good way to just kind of get started in Tableau if you're new to Tableau. Next one is going to be a dynamic drill down. This is something where you've got the structure set up, but you're going to be flipping through different values. And this can, again, be a really good prototype to kind of say, hey, this is what you're specifically asking for. I thought you might want this thing instead, or, Joe over here always asks me for this thing, so Susie, I thought you'd like it too, or those sorts of things. And then the last one's going to be a click to drill down. And this is going to be the most similar to the look and feel of a pivot table and where we start getting into that multi-select parameter. So I'm going to go to the resources for a second, and then we'll hop back into Tableau and I'll show you these different options. So don't worry if that didn't make sense to you at all. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. But last, I just wanted to list or kind of talk through some of these resources that I've listed here. This first one is just a really, really good blog about multi-select parameters. Highly recommend checking it out. There's, I'll also say, like, these other resources are my blogs, and I feel like I did a good job explaining something, but just because I think I did a good job doesn't mean that everyone, thinks the same way that I did, or maybe there's something else that is just meaningful to you to have it be communicated in a different way. So highly recommend this blog about exploring dashboards with multi drill downs in Tableau. And then the last, or like the second two or the last two resources are going to be my Tableau Public, which has this workbook built out for these 3 different drill down options, and you can download it. So feel free to take a look at it and try and dissect it and build it out, or figure out a way that you might be able to translate it into your own use case or something like that. And then this blog of how to build a pivot table in Tableau is kind of an overarching series where I'm gonna I list out and kind of talk through what I was just explaining about what are the options and why you would potentially choose one versus the other. And then I go through, and then in this blog of how to build a pivot table is a link to 2 other blogs where I go through the step-by-step process for how to build a dynamic drill down and then how to build this click to drill down. So there's a lot of information on this page, but the point or the thing that you should take away is that as I'm going through this content and I'm talking through it, if you are like, oh, this is great, I want to look at it later, or you're kind of confused on something, all of this content is out on the internet. You can get it for free and you can download it and really like dive into those details yourself. So please don't feel overwhelmed or lost by anything that I'm going through. The resources are there for you. All right. So that was a lot. I'm going to pause my sharing for a second and pull up my Tableau. But if anyone has a question while I've got that, feel free to shout it out.
Yeah, Katrina, I just wanted to mention that the links that you're showing here are all at the top of this thread, but some said that they got in later, so I'm just going to reshare that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just added it there.
Oh,
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I just did. Yeah, if anybody needs that, let me know. I can always send it to you.
Yes, awesome. Okay, can you guys see my Tableau? Awesome. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk through those three different options, and this first option is a built-in hierarchy. So again, these are very simple dashboards. This is a very simple kind of option that you can use. So to use a built-in hierarchy, just to kind of give you a sense of what it looks like if you haven't ever used one, when you hover over the category or the header for this, you get this plus or minus expand kind of collapse option. And you can see that our profit and our metrics over here will kind of split out based off of what we have selected here in our category and subcategory. You can see that I can expand it as many levels as I add into my dashboard or into my hierarchy. So I'm going to open up this page and just kind of walk through this one. Again, you probably have run into these before. They are built into the, like if you use Superstore data or ever played around with it, there should be one that is kind of a built-in hierarchy for location. But for this one, all you really have to do is click and drag. Let's see, let's add order ID to this one. So I'm just going to click and drag and add it to my hierarchy. So you can see that you can also rearrange the order, and that's basically it. It's just using this built-in feature so that we can add our order number in here. So again, why would you use this? It's really easy. That is it. It's a really nice built-in feature from Tableau. So if you want to be able to provide this drill down path to your end users in a very simple, fast prototype kind of way, this is it. That's really all you have to do. Some drawbacks or maybe some reasons why you wouldn't want to use this one is that as you can see here, it does depend on the order of the hierarchy that you have. So if for whatever reason, let's say you want to go, one end user might want to go category, subcategory, state, and then another or different end user would want to go category, subcategory, manufacturer, you would have to build two separate hierarchies, which again, they're really easy to do, but it can sometimes be a limitation if you want to have some dynamic or flexibility within your drill down. But again, and I'll also add that it's like, it does the same functionality, but it doesn't necessarily look like a pivot table. And as you can see here, it is one of those things that sometimes when I have implemented this for my end users, people don't always know to hover over this option to really get that that pop-up or that drill down little box or the expand or collapse. So just in general, I always recommend trying to put some examples or some explanatory instructions in here so that folks kind of know, like, click on a header to expand. Okay, I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm doing. So that's, again, really easy, really good to do, but does have some limitations. And again, the main limitation, in my opinion, is that dynamicness for the drill down, which is why I have this second option. And as you can see here, we have the same kind of hierarchy where we've got our broken out from level 1, level 2, level 3. But for this one, I built parameter options for this drill down to say, in that scenario I just listed, where folks want to look at things in different drill down paths, this allows them to kind of see, hey, maybe I care about category and then subcategory and then state, or maybe I want state at top, and you can kind of flip between these different options. So let me open up this one. And again, this is a pretty simple usage of parameters. So let me open this and I'll is it not like, whoops. So it is basically just listing this field to determine, let me show actually this will make a little more sense. So it's basically just saying, when my drill down parameter is set to state or 1, then show the state value, then show the category value. So this is, again, kind of that medium level. If you need a little bit of a more introduction into parameters, this can be a very good way to kind of let your field flip through multiple options. So some limitations here, as you can see, you are, again, limited to like the path or the options that you put in here. it is much easier to add options in here. You can add as many options as you really want or make sense for your use case. So it is a good way to do that. The problem, or sometimes when folks get to see all of those options, they choose values or choose combinations of values that don't necessarily make sense with each other. So sometimes it can be confusing to end users to see these two levels in here, or they might, break out the data by something that doesn't make sense to break it out by. So just a cautionary note of, if you're putting out that option, it could be something that you would need to either, educate your end users on, or maybe think about splitting out some options as far as like, having one page that goes through one specific drill down path and then a second page that goes into a different drill down path. The other thing I'll call out is that you can see here that I do have to determine how many levels that I want in this scenario. So I do say level 1, 2, and 3. And it, again, is when you're thinking about the adoption from a pivot table, or the similarities to a pivot table, you don't have that like expand collapse, again, kind of in this first option where we have one column and now we have two columns. So again, a little bit more medium level for how much work it takes to set up, but a really good flexible analysis for folks. I'm going to stop here before I hop into that third option, which again is a little bit of more of the meatier one. Are there any questions on either of these two options? Or anything that we've talked about so far?
We did have one question. Someone had asked, how do table calculations impact that built-in hierarchy?
Ooh, that is a good question. I would say it's going to depend on the calculation itself. So you can see here that Tableau is like adding this field or it in here, as opposed to keeping the same one and switching it, which is going to be the option for the third one. So I would write your calculation to be as dynamic as all of the fields that you're going to want to put in there. But definitely something that I would kind of try it or test it out before you kind of start. Some of the implications of that are going to be like with your totals or subtotals or like anything that's kind of based off of that. All right. So you've got a hand raised. You want to go for it? Great. Well, again, feel free to put your question in the chat and we can talk about it after, or we can always follow up later.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. And I'm recently working on a survey data, and the drill down hierarchy that you showed, it is very helpful, like to actually the executive team to drill down and make their own choices. And do you have any insight on how to, like, there are like 40 questions, and I want to group them so that it will make sense to give them at least 5 or 6 options to drill down. And like you did for the 3 levels. And I'm worried about the parameters. So can you give me tips on the parameters and how should I organize? Any tips that will be helpful? Thank you.
Yeah. So so I think you're asking about this option. The drill down. Yeah. So like I said, this option does require you, and again, this setup specifically, or the way that I have built it here, does require you to kind of predetermine the drill down path, and it is a little like it's flexible within a range. You can kind of flip through options, but they do still have to be those options.
Right.
So I think like with survey data specifically, just because survey data is funky, especially in comparison to Superstore and kind of transaction data, I would think about if there's a way that makes sense for your data, for your questions, to group them around, like these are questions related to this topic, or these are questions related to a different topic, and kind of try and like group things as much as possible and maybe use those for your parameter options.
Right.
I have seen some really good presentations about survey data specifically, and I can try and find some, or maybe if anyone else on the call has seen any recently. Again, survey data can be really funky, and with the way that you have to work with it in Tableau and model it, I would lean on someone that may have a little bit more experience with that. So that's my, hopefully that's a good answer for now, but we can also follow up with that one and get you some more information.
Sure thing. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Anyone else have anything? Otherwise, I'm going to hop into this third drill down option.
And keep, putting any questions on the chat. That's awesome. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? Your questions, if we can clarify anything. If we cannot, help you right here, then we just can talk, and after. That's what we're here for. So thank you for asking questions.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, sorry, just moving my notes around on my side. So again, just want to call out that I do have this blog for how to build a click to drill down option in pivot table. Again, you can see that it's got a lot of steps to it, but please do not be intimidated by this. I have broken it down into very, very small baby steps or very small steps. So that's why there's so many steps in here to really hopefully help you understand exactly all of the pieces that you're doing. And I try and provide a lot of context to understand, why we're building this step and what the reason is that we need this to be set up in a certain way, as well as some gifts for this. And again, you do have, I think it's linked in here at the bottom. You always have that option to go to my Tableau public and download it and kind of rebuild it for yourself. So again, if I go through something and you're confused by it, please feel free to look at this documentation after. But okay. So I'm going to hop into kind of explaining what this pivot table-esque drill down option is, and then a little bit about how we're going to build it. So again, you can see here that this option is a little bit different than the other two options that we were looking at, where we have one row per column. And I am looking at the instructions here. So again, remember, best practice to always include instructions in general. So I'm going to click on a row, and now you can see that my column that was left here shifted. So it went to the left a little bit, and now my furniture option, and now I can see all of the options that are in furniture, and I can click on bookcases, and then now I can see that I've drilled down into furniture and the bookcases, and I can look at each subcategory that's listed in here. So some of the things to just kind of think about, again, when we're going through this option, is that you can see that I've set it up so that we're only looking at one option at a time. We're drilling down into one specific section. So again, when I click on furniture, I don't see those other categories in here. I just see furniture. You can change this option if you want. I just find that it tends to be a little bit more confusing to end users to see so much data all at the same time. But again, if that's what your use case calls for, you can edit that option. The other thing that I'll, just kind of call out is that oh, sorry, is that a question? All right. So this is one of the reasons why I created this one was to try and mimic as much as possible that click to drill down or click to expand option. So again, if you remember the first option where we had that little plus sign where you could click to drill down, this is my attempt to kind of mimic that option to help you understand what path you took in order to get here, as well as providing some options about, just kind of going back one level or reverting back to the top and kind of starting over. So again, this is more complex, or definitely the most complex version that we're going to talk about today to set up, but it does provide a lot of flexibility, and in my opinion is the most similar to a pivot table. So again, if that's kind of what your use case is, you've got a user who's really adamant about using Excel and loving Excel and wanting their pivot tables, this would be my suggestion for kind of saying, hey, look, we can still build this, and you can, get all the benefits of Tableau as well. I'll also say that if you are wondering, there is an option, or like you can pair this with visualizations. So you could add a bar chart to it. You could add, other elements onto your dashboard to really help provide that, that mix that we talked about at the beginning between details and slices and dices with those visual trends. Again, this one only covers just the drill down option and not the visuals, but we can talk about that as well. Yes, is that a question?
Yes, I have a
Yeah.
question. So this is actually my question. I wanted to ask you a question. So have you found that this alternative, right, of providing your user as close as possible of as Excel, right, like as close as possible, would it help you bring in some of those, let's say, users that don't want to use Tableau, don't want to go and move to BI? And maybe by giving them this, you can say, I mean, I used to, when I worked with Aaron in Universal Studios in Orlando, we used to provide these users both things, right? We said, okay, here is your Excel, but here is an alternative. Here is, like maybe, making it easier for those people to start moving into more, dashboard visualization, charts, and or like you said, maybe they have both always at the same time. Do you think that could help anybody out there, right?
Yes, that is the reason why I wrote this or created this content was because of that exact reason of we just ran into some folks that are very passionate about Excel. And again, like I said at the beginning, I come from an Excel background. It's kind of what got me interested in data and eventually data visualization. So Excel will always hold a special place in my heart. But at the end of the day, if your organization is moving towards Tableau, and there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to use Tableau over Excel, whether it's like processing, additional visualizations, governance, all of those good things that Tableau brings to an organization, it can be really difficult to get people to kind of get used to it, or to stop asking like, well, how do I download or export this data to Excel? And that could be a little, especially as a data visualization designer, that can be kind of like a wah moment for me, as far as like, oh shoot, I didn't build it exactly how they want. And so again, this I have seen it in the past, and I do believe that this is a very good option for those people that are just kind of stuck in that between that rock and a hard place of they want Excel, but we're using Tableau. And that's kind of that this is a good middle ground between those two, in my opinion, and kind of really helps get used to, or get a user used to that, like click to drill down. That is such a very common use case within Tableau, or excuse me, within Excel. And so again, just getting that familiarity, like exactly like you said about, hey, this is something you're used to, but we can also provide this option. And kind of with that, as I mentioned in that blog, and as you will probably see, this concept is very meaty. And so if you are in that scenario, I would strongly recommend trying the first two options, or potentially presenting something like this. Again, you can always go to my I have done this several times, where I go to that dashboard on my Tableau Public and I say, hey, look at something that we could do. Is this what you want? This use case or this process does take a while to build. It does have a few steps in it. And so, just try and see if it's something that they're going to want before you go through it and build it all, because maybe they are going to be okay with option one or option two, and maybe they'll see the value of those parameters, and they can kind of say, oh, well, that's okay, I don't actually need that pivot table, I'm so used to it, or like I don't know how to ask for something aside from a pivot table because I don't speak the language of Tableau, or I don't speak the language of data visualization. Yeah, good, really good questions though overall. Okay, so we got about 20 minutes left. So again, I'm gonna try and fly through this content so we can leave a little bit more time for the drawing, as well as any additional questions and answers here. So again, all these resources are out here if you do need them. But let me kind of start and explain, as we kind of dive into this, let me kind of explain what is going on here. So there's a few different options, or a few different calculations that we need to work on to kind of build out these options. as you can see here, we've got two parameters that are listed over here. One is this drill down level parameter, and then we've also got an input parameter. And we're going to really maximize the combination of these two items or these two parameters to help us understand or identify what level of drill down we're on. So again, if we think about this is going to be our third level because we're displaying 3 pieces of information. Basically, the all or like the highest level, I count it as like level 0. So it's not really a 0 or it's not really a level in this scenario, or in my opinion. And then we're also going to determine what did we actually click on? What levels are we trying to get to? We want to look at the third level of what? We want to look at the third level of furniture and chairs. So it's kind of these two combinations that we're gonna look to. And so again, let me kind of start with, so for building this drill down, the first step that I would go through is building this drill down level parameter. And again, I have set up this one. I don't know if anyone follows Autumn Botani. She's one of my coworkers. She just posted an interesting conversation about using different types of parameters, or like whether it's an integer or a list. I will say that I tend to be an integer option. It just kind of makes sense to me. But if you want to use a list, you can definitely use that one as well. I think that for this scenario, it makes the most sense to use an integer. So I'll kind of hopefully get to a little bit more detail on that later. But basically, all we're doing with this parameter is we're saying we have 4 options. We have a maximum of 4 options that I want my end users to be able to drill down into. Again, we're going to start with at least 1. So like I said before, that level 0 where it's kind of everything is that 0, but I really want my minimum to be 1 so that folks can look at 1 level. And then we're also going to increase it by 1 every single time, as opposed to like half or 10 or something like that. So normally this is this is how I would set it up, and I normally set it to just be a level 1 as a blank. So let's do that, and this will kind of also help explain. I'm going to delete that, what we're going to here. So again, we're on our first level of the drill down. And then the next step is to build this input parameter. So as you can see here, this input parameter is a blank string parameter. So what does this mean and why do we want it to be blank? So this is, again, part of the value or part of why I think multi-select parameters are such a fun and an interesting feature and a way for you to potentially kind of unlock a lot of functionality in Tableau. And so this is something where basically all we're saying is like, hey, Tableau, we want a blank slate. We want to start with nothing. We want to start with what I have listed here, and then we'll populate values and we'll let our end user choose how we want to populate those values. So if you remember our second option, we determined what values end users could select. This is kind of a free-for-all. We want people to be able to select on lots of different things. So now that we have a blank parameter, we need to figure out a way to make it not be blank. So again, we know what our end users are putting into this value. So again, when I click on furniture, it's going to actually do something. And to do this, we would start using, that is, sorry, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me look at my notes for a second. So we're gonna next create the drill down level. So this is so again, we've got our drill down level here, which just is the number of the level that we're on. And so now we're going to populate those values to kind of say, okay, when I do click on something, what options are going to be clickable? What can I put in my options to drill down? So I labeled this one as level dim, which is just level dimension. So this is, again, basically just saying, when our drill down level is set to 1, I want that level to be category. I want the second level to be subcategory, manufacturer, product name. So again, kind of going back to some of the overarching concepts about why you'd use one versus the other. As you can see here, this is something that is set up to be a specific drill down path. You theoretically could make this dynamic. I just have found that to be generally more work than what it's worth in a lot of use cases. A lot of times people when you really push them and you kind of say like, do you really need all the options? They're like, well, no, I actually 99% of the time I look at it this way. And so again, that's kind of why I have this set up as a specific drill down level. All right, I'm gonna try and continue to fly through this. So as we, and again, that's kind of what we're going to be using to build here for this table. We've got our input. This value is going to say, if as we start to build or put values into our input table, we want to be able to put multiple values in there. So again, we're not just looking at furniture, we're looking at furniture and a subcategory. And this is really kind of starting to get into the meat or like the fun or the magic of multi-select parameters, where this is going to populate a value that is a multi-select. So basically what it's saying is that if we're not at our bottom level or our most granular level, if our drill down level is less than 4, then I want you to take the input value, what value is in our parameter, add a comma, and then add the dimension that I click on. So again, this is the fields that we just determined to be the category, subcategory, and all of the drill down paths. So what this ends up doing is it takes what we have already clicked on, add a comma, and then add the new value that we clicked on. So I'll demo this in a second, but the else is just, well, if we're not already, or if we don't have it, if we're at our most granular level, then just give me what I already have in my input. So let me again demonstrate this. So if I click on something, hide all sheet. So now we can see that we put furniture in here. We populated that value. And again, if I click on chairs, what it did was it took the input value of that parameter, which was furniture, added a comma, and then added what we put on for that value that we just clicked on. So one thing that I'll call out here is that you technically don't have to have this comma. I would very strongly recommend using it though. It's going to help you with troubleshooting and just kind of understanding what's going on. And you can also use other characters like a bar or something like that if your drill down options will potentially have commas in them. So if you've already, like if your data contains, east comma west or something like that, you will want to put a different value in here. All right. So now we've got some options in here, or we've kind of told Tableau, we've got this blank thing. We're telling Tableau how to populate the blank parameter and also kind of go down some additional values. All right, I'm going to go through a couple more things and then I'll try and kind of cover things faster. So the input filter is kind of, again, a next important concept. So this formula might look a little funky, but basically what this formula is doing is allowing us to say, again, when I click on furniture, I only want to see furniture. So if you remember when I talked a little bit ago about how you could add more or like show all the data, this would be the one that you would exclude. But really what's happening here is we're using the split function within Tableau, which basically says, hey, let's look at our input table. Let's split it, or let's break it out by this comma. And if the after the second comma equals our category, then I want to keep that. And this is kind of the true false. This is the filter that tells us, okay, I clicked on filter, or I clicked on furniture, and now I want to keep my furniture and exclude anything that's not furniture. And again, this just is kind of like the same copy or the same iteration for each level of the hierarchy. All right. So next we would go through and build a previous level display. Again, just for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of gloss over this part, but basically it's just saying, if we clicked on furniture, what was the previous value that was in our, if we click on furniture, what was the value before? If we click on chairs, what was the furniture, or what was the value before, which was furniture? It's using basically the same functionality to kind of split out our input filters so that we can add a label and add a path for end users to kind of see what's going on. Next, we would add some level down, or like, again, so far we've talked so much about drilling down into the data. We're going from category to subcategory, but what if we want to go back up? How do we tell Tableau to go back up? this level down parameter, or this level down, calculation is going to help us kind of do that, where it's basically just saying, you know, if we're already at this level, go down 1, otherwise we'll go back up 1 and kind of go through there. Again, just kind of allows it to create that circle or that iteration of options. All right, so next we would go through and kind of, those are all the pieces that we generally use to build the functionality. And then we would go through and kind of build out the table, and we'd start to put these fields, whether it's the input filter, the previous level display, or those dimensions on here to kind of get this functionality, or get the content on the page so that we can start to interact with it. Next, we would go back to our dashboard, or you'd create a dashboard, I guess, if you hadn't gone to that point. And we'd start to build those actions. So again, we've talked a lot about, you know, using the formula to tell Tableau what we want to put in things. So now we're going to add that functionality of interaction so we can get that click and something happens. So I will say that these, if you've ever done much with Tableau actions, you can kind of know that there's a lot of functionality within them, and especially within this structure, within this format, there's a lot of very similar things going on. So I would highly recommend, very, very strongly recommend adding very descriptive labels to these steps. It can definitely be confusing. So as you can see here, I've labeled things as, you know, change input value for drill down, change input value 1 level up. So this is my way of when I look at this again, you know, a few weeks or a few months later, I can say, okay, I'm changing my input value parameter, and my action or my intent is to go down 1 level or to go up 1 level. So to do this, I'm going to go through this first setup for this first one. So if you've ever, or if you've ever not added an action, basically all you do is go to the dashboard, add actions, as you saw there, and we're going to choose our click to drill down, and we're going to tell Tableau that we want it to be our input parameter. So again, this is the blank one that we set up, where we say we want to populate this input parameter off of our add input field, which was the one that determines what we are clicking on. So we would go through and kind of create all of these steps for saying, when I click on this, Tableau, this is what I want you to do. And this really lets us kind of take that snapshot or understand what the end user has selected and either move it down, or like farther down the drill down path, or up 1 level in the path. And again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to kind of explain that you want to choose, or you have to create a calculation that determines where you are, determine a calculation of what is the next step, and also determine what is the previous step. It's that combination of those 3 sort of scenarios or 3 calculations that really lets you kind of flip between those values. Again, if you remember me talking at the beginning with that parameter, they let you kind of shuffle or shuffle through different values and different parameters within your value. So you can kind of say, this is the first scenario that I have, this is the scenario I'm on, and this is the scenario that I want to go to. So the objective, or as you can see here, there's like a lot of pieces that we're getting to, but this is kind of the overarching concept around how you create that drill down path. So again, Tableau can do a lot of really cool things, but we just need to kind of take it piece by piece and really tell Tableau what exactly we want it to do and how we want our end users to interact with it. So again, sorry for kind of just glossing over some of these things, but really I hope that this could be a good introduction to this concept. Again, I've got all that content out there, but I think the thing to take away for this concept is, again, just understanding that once you create each piece of that puzzle or each piece of that path, all you really have to do is tell Tableau what path or what step are we on, and then you can really move dynamically between your data. All right, so with one minute left for my time limit, I'm sorry, are there any questions or anything else that you guys would like me to dive into real quick?
Katrina, we literally go over the hour limit, so like, don't worry about
that. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we can keep talking.
Okay.
When you do the action needs to be done at the dashboard level, right? That cannot be done on the worksheet level. Is that correct? I think.
Yes, I have found it to be way more successful if you do set it up at the dashboard level, especially. So as you can see here, I kind of alluded to these buttons as well as far as saying like, okay, if I drill down into something, I want to be able to go back up to it. I don't know if anyone has caught that this is a blank or empty value. The reason why this is here is because I need end users to not click on this button or not have this option to select to, because it will just put in that same value and not actually go anywhere. So you do have to create a separate button that says, you know, hey, because this field is displaying the value that I was just on. And if I let end users select that, then you're only going to have like a very small, like this or that, as opposed to previous versions of it. So to answer your question, you do need these additional options if you want folks to be able to kind of go backwards in the path. So that's why I do put it in there.
Where it says all and you click on one or so you to see the other one, is that an image when I'm not here, like click on binder or whatever? Yeah, that when it says binder and you have that little kind of like an icon there. I was wondering if
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking. That's what I was looking.
Yeah.
That's what
And this is something that if you didn't know, you can put like little icons or images or sorts of things within your text fields as well. You know, a lot of folks know you can put it as like you can set a mark as a shape, but you can also do it in here. And what is also cool, if you're noticing here, there is a space or kind of a return, so it does go down a value. And again, this is something that I have added as a way to help the user understand how they got to where they are. And if you think about using a pivot table, that's something that you would be able to see in a pivot table. Also, one of the benefits of that first option is it's a really easy to see how you got to where you're going, because it's all click and expand. There's not a lot of options, but I just have found this to be really helpful for user adoption.
I think too. I mean, you know, we usually use this, you know, when we have like you know, like up arrows, down arrows, or like we have like characters, you know, we can pick up those characters anywhere online. But I noticed this is great. I mean, I really like when you were clicking and you can see that, you know, the drill down, how it is, and you have to go up and down. That I really like it.
Yeah, and again, like that's part of why people love pivot tables and why I think they're great is because they do provide that context of understanding how things are connected to each other.
Exactly.
Katrina, when this is out on the server, wherever people access it, they can't see that box that's hovering over, correct? Like, so when you go back, you can kind of see that, but you can't see that on the server, right?
Yep. Yeah. This is just kind of a display, or because I'm in the workbook editing it.
Someone was wondering if you can set hierarchies at the data source. You know, so if they've got 5 different workbooks and they want the same parameter for all of them, there's a way to like set that into the data rather than having to update each one every time there's new data to be brought in.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I haven't tried to use the built-in hierarchy option at a data source. I want to say that's not a feature, but I haven't tried recently, so I don't know. You know, Tableau's always releasing cool new things. I don't know if anyone else on the call knows the answer to that, but for the if you're using this option to create these parameters, I would suggest using some sort of well, let me think about it for a second, because you do have to, in order to determine what the for this third option specifically, in order to determine what fields show up in this level dim and the previous level display, you would need to create this field at that, you know, in the workbook. So I think you could theoretically add some information, you know, like potentially in a different table, you know, bring it in as an additional data source that would help a creator or a builder of a document understand what the value or what the drill down should be, but I think that you'd end up having to read or build this part anyway. So I'm not sure how much of time it would save you or value add it would have outside of just clarifying the ask.
I think I saw, I did find one article about creating hierarchies in Tableau prep.
Ooh,
Some Alteryx or whatever, and creating that hierarchy before it comes in.
yeah.
But it looks pretty detailed on how to do that, so it might take a while to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, does it say, does it create this like built-in hierarchy? Is that the intention?
I mean, I just searched for it, so I haven't read the really long. Don't find it.
I've got another idea. So I mean, if I were gonna do this, I think a very super quick thing that you can do to enhance it, and it will not take you that much, is to add based on the tooltip, right? Like if we hover to some of the things, then you may have like say a line chart or something where anything,
Yeah.
right? Anything that you can add in the tooltip,
Mhm.
which is still, you know, something for those that still want the Excel, but you can tell them, hey, here is something else. If you hover on it, it will give you more information, something else. A little
Yes.
chart, a little bar, something.
Yeah, and anything that you create within to like populate this the content that's on your table, you can reuse, or you would be able to use these filters again to get that same piece of information. So you can start to build some interaction, and I can show you guys again, like I talked at the beginning about how you can add visuals to this. This is a multi-select collapsing filter, which is built a like step 2 after this click to drill down. But as you can see here, you are able to kind of connect these two things to show. This was a fun one if you want to look at something somewhat challenging around how do you connect that like multi-select and that collapse and all those sorts of things into a visual. So hopefully this can inspire someone.
So here you click on add and remove. That's what you're doing, right? You click, you add it, you remove it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But what's really cool about, or part of why I built this one was, again, if you remember when I talked here about how this input filter decides that we're only looking at office supplies. And so this ask was, well, what if I want to look at all the options, or what if I want to know what everything is available, but not necessarily see something? So this was kind of, again, like a step 2 or an addition onto that, this concept of the multi-select parameter in this pivot table around how would you show something, but I'll show that it's an option, but not show it all the time. So that's kind of what this one is doing. And the other cool thing about this one is that, as you can see here, if I click to like hide or show, it does remember what I have selected prior. So again, this is kind of using the same input, but then there's a level for each one. So yeah, this one was fun. So again, hopefully this can be a really good inspiration to, like what I was saying before about how multi-select parameters can really lead to a lot of cool things in Tableau and really help with your end user adoption around just having that interactivity within your workbook. I think that there's a lot of cool things about Tableau, but a lot of times we end up getting users who have no BI experience, who don't speak Tableau or those sorts of things, and they're used to web pages and Excel and those sorts of things. So anything that I can do to try and help make it feel comfortable and make it feel familiar for folks is what I try and do.
A quick question. I got 2 quick questions. One, is it possible to set up this hierarchy so that you select the dimension in the table rather than on the columns that you have? I want to click on profit $19. Can we click on that to make it drill, or do we only have to click on the?
It does still work because it's like within that same row, and that kind of goes back to why we need this like blank container, which is also something to sort of look out for, or like, you know, sometimes people get confused about different things. So just something to keep in mind that it is anything within this row, because Tableau recognizes this $64 profit value to be associated with this value. So when you click on it, it's going to populate that value.
And the last one was, can you use this drill down in some way as a filter for a chart that you might also have on your dashboard?
Yep. Yes. And so that was kind of what I was talking about around, you could, let's see, like you would want to still have these two dimensions in here to help you understand like what values are broken out. And then you would just need to have this same input filter. Let me show this one on here, which is basically just saying, you know, hey, when I am in, so right now I'm on level 4. So I'm going to split out my input based off of my commas that are listed in here, which are my separator, my I can't say that word. Things that, yes, things that separate my field or my input. So again, all I'm doing is, or I'm asking Tableau to say, hey, split out my input parameter, find the second comma that's in here. And if that value equals my category, then true, then I want to keep that. And so this is the filter that really determines what someone has selected on. So if you use this same input filter on a visualization, you would have the same information. So let me just
there, and you just apply that filter to that bar chart, it would work.
yes, yep. So we can see here that like I've put this one to false now, so we can see all of our data that's drilled down into this level. And you know, sometimes that could be a really good scenario too, as far as like, you know, I want to see everything at level 1, at level 2, at level 3. I just find that it's something that this is a lot of content. And sometimes when people, especially if they're like, oh, I care about office supplies, I want to look at office supplies. When I click on this, I expect to only see office supplies. Or if you've seen some other cool drill down options in Tableau where it like it says office supplies and then all of the office supplies expand, or which is kind of like this option too. So there's that option as well if you do want to see everything.
Very cool.
Awesome. Are there? See if there's a lot of things in the chat. Is there anything else that we missed? Would you be able to select? Would you be able to select just the filter icon in the dashboard? Spin, I'm not sure. Did you get did that question or what we just talked about explain that question or answer that
Yeah,
question?
you definitely did answer the question. I was just wondering, the filter, it's visible right now. If I had another chart on that dashboard and I used this as a filter for the whole dashboard and I wanted to drill down, like would I be able to, like would the chart change as I went from everything to office supplies to art, and then the bar chart changes with that as you're selecting through it?
Yeah, you could definitely set it up to be kind of both ways. Around a lot of that's going to have to do with what you select as your source for these things. So again, if I change, right now you can see that this is set to, well, sorry, that's not a good example. Let me choose a different one. Yeah, so this action is sourced by my click to drill down sheet, which is my table or like the content that's listed here. And the target is the input, and I'm sourcing it by my add input field. So if you wanted the same, you know, let's say we do have a bar chart on here as well on this side, you could have the end user interact with either the table or the bar chart, and you would get the same actions. Again, you just need to like set it up to be that way. Or you could set it up so that it's only on the bar chart or it's only on the table, which again is just kind of choosing which sources to include or not include in that action.
I gotcha. Thanks so much. I was just wondering if there was like a easy cheat way to go about it, like just selecting the little filter right there. I appreciate the answer so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. The cheat would be to just duplicate this page and then build your bar chart off of that. Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Awesome. Anything else that I can help answer?
You notice the pivot table dashboard of yours that's out there has almost 44,000 views.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes. Yeah, that was something that I wrote pretty early on in my Tableau career, or like a medium amount of my Tableau career, and it was by far the largest view dashboard that I have, and I'm really proud of that. Like, I think it's a cool thing. It was a really cool accomplishment or like benchmark in my career, and I think it's so cool that something that I struggled with is hopefully helping so many people. And again, like I said, I think that there's a lot of value in pivot tables. I love like that. Again, Excel has a special place in my heart, and if you've been in the analytics world for a minute, you know that lots of people love Excel and love that functionality. And it's kind of like, like, hey, let's take what's good about Excel and put it into another tool that's also really good and really great.
Well, we appreciate you making it downloadable so that
Yes.
I borrow it.
For sure. And again, those are the links are also posted in, like, if you go to my Tableau public, down at the bottom, there's a little section about like describing it, and those links to those blogs are in there as well. So hopefully you can find it. Is the point. Lots of sources for it.
All right, Neil, anything else on your end?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I think no, excellent. Thank you so much. Hope to see you anytime again. And everybody, we are the whole year ready planned. Like Aaron said at the beginning, please join us again every month. Every month we're gonna have something great as today. And just join us, share with others that we have great content every month. And thank you for being here. Yeah.
Yep. In February, we got Don Harrington, and in March, we got Brandy Beals. Both of them are Tableau ambassadors. I failed to mention, Katrina, that you as well are an ambassador. I should have led with that. My apologies. So we're happy you're here and you're able to do this with us. And thanks everybody for showing up. We'll see you next time. We'll draw the swag, and we'll let you know if you won after the fact. But that's it from Florida. See you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Be safe. Thank you. Have a weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Katrina.